welcome to the Weekly Mag. Today we have a show with dolls and puppets. We'll talk to Elisabeth Macneal, author of the bestseller The Doll Factory, which has just been published in Catalonia, El Taller de Nines. Meet MeMu, the puppet created by Mònica and Laura Guiteras, las Josephines. Are you ready for guess what? Our guest contestant Rachel Brown will compete against our collaborators in a quiz about mobsters with Sergi Cervera. All this and much more in today's program. Let's get the Weekly Mag started. Your show in English, hosted by Marcela Topor.
Welcome once more to the Weekly Mag. We have prepared for you a show with plenty of fun, literature, tips, interviews and much more. But without further ado, let's start Words and Facts with Mario Serra, Nadia, Gramuller and Matthew Tree. Welcome all.
Hi there.
Thank you.
And today we'll play a bit with Mario Serra, making and solving anagrams. Marius, for example.
Yeah, for example, if I say, who do you think are best in prayer in the whole Christianity? What would you say?
Madonna.
Madonna?
What? The singer. The
That's
singer.
a good idea, but it's not an anagram.
She has a song called Like a Prayer. That doesn't count?
Yeah, because of the song. But it's with the letters of best in prayer, you can form a word which is Presbyterian. Presbyterian says so about themselves because the 12 letters of best in prayer are the same 12 letters than Presbyterian. We are going to play with some of them and we'll see that some of them seem to guess the future. So it's not just a question of playing.
Presbyterian, my whole mother's family were Presbyterians, and they're called Presbyterians because in their religion the word for a priest is a presbyter.
Yeah.
It's not because of the anagram. That's
No,
what
of course.
Just
it comes
wanted to clear
coming
that up.
from Latin.
That's right,
Presbyter. Yeah.
Okay, Marius, well, I expect you'll also bring us the solution to last week's guess word, right?
Of course, and it will be easy this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, and 2 weeks ago, Nadia looked into hiccups, and today she has looked a bit further into people's minds. Nadia?
You could say people's minds or nerves.
Or nerves.
Are
Wow.
there any things, tastes, or noises that you guys can't stand?
Oh, I remember, I'm not original. At school, going to the blackboard and a piece of chalk.
Yeah, the chalk on the blackboard. That's creepy.
There's something for me that's even worse than the chalk down the blackboard. That's progressive rock from the 1970s. And in particular, a band called Yes, which I remember because everybody used to play it and it was horrible. And as for taste, Brussels sprouts. That's
But you don't have that problem these days, right? I mean, yes. Do you hear it a lot around here?
No.
fortunately not.
No.
Yes,
no,
exactly.
No.
So today I asked people the same question. But as you know, I don't just settle for theory. I also had to test it with my own instruments.
Instruments. Now you're scaring me a little bit.
Why don't you see for yourself?
Okay. This?
Oh my God! A little bit.
Well, I can't deny we want to see a bit more of that, but let's start Words and Facts with Matthew Tree, who brings us another totally unexpected Catalan historical connection. Matthew, which one today?
Yeah, this one is not very well known. Catalans and Australia, of all places. To begin with, just to kick off, has anybody been to or lived in Melbourne, Australia?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet, no?
I lived there for a year.
You lived in Melbourne
Yes.
for a year? Okay.
Well, Nadia lived everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
You
she's-
name it. You name the place and she'll say yes, yeah.
Okay, so maybe you recognize the bridge that's coming up, that image there? Do you recognize that bridge?
Well, it was 15 years ago, so I don't remember this bridge in particular.
Okay.
Sorry.
An Irish
Well,
bridge.
It's the first stone bridge that was ever built in Australia, and it's called the Moral Bridge. And it's named after a mayor of Melbourne. He became mayor in 1929, and his real name was Stephen Morrell, but he was also called Esteve Morell. because his father came from Vila Seca on the Tarragona coast. His father moved to Australia, married an Australian, they had a kid. When the kid was 2 years old, they went back to Vila Seca. And so little Esteve Morell lived in Vila Seca from 2 to 17 years old, went back and became this important man. He became like a big businessman and the mayor of Melbourne. But the interesting thing was, okay, he was a native Australian, but he spoke and read and in Catalan right through to the end of his life, as well as English. So he's like a big figure, let's say, in Melbourne. And he did a visit to Barcelona as well in 1936, and he was welcomed with full honours.
36?
In 1936.
Before 18th of July.
Before the 18th of July, yeah, because everything was quite stable then, more or less.
Exactly.
So that's Esteve Morell or Stephen Morrell, or if you say it with an Australian accent, Stephen Morrell. So it's
it's a difficult accent.
It's a difficult.
I've never been there, but I was in New Zealand, very nearby, and it's quite more Scottish accent. I think.
It's a different accent. And in fact, in Melbourne, there are other references. Obviously, Stephen Morrell has the bridge named after him. There's also a fishmonger called Fishmonger Canals, or canals in English.
Yeah.
And what else is there? There's a Barcelona Terrace also in Melbourne, because one of its most famous mayors came from Catalonia. So that's
so we have to go to Melbourne, all of us.
Yeah, and see the sights. And the very first Catalan in the whole of Spain, the very first person from the whole of Spain to ever go to Melbourne, Australia, in fact, came from, imagine which little village in Catalonia. Little village begins with a V, has a hyphen in it, then an S. It's the same place as Stephen Morrell came from.
Vila Seca.
Vila Seca, good, yeah.
Wow.
Vila Seca.
I was just to say Salou, but not. It's Vila Seca.
It's Vila Seca. He was called Pedagras, and he arrived in Australia in 1854. And most of the Catalans in Australia, like in England, we have this idea that Australia was populated by convicts, by prisoners from England. But in fact, quite a lot of Catalans went there, and they weren't convicts. They were so desperate, in fact, to leave that they just went voluntarily. And most of them came from the Tarragona coast. A lot of them came not only from Vila Seca, but from Torredembarra. Yeah. And there's a writer from Torredembarra, this guy, David Nello, who lived for a while in Australia, and he wrote a whole novel about the Torredembarrans who went to emigrate to Australia. It's an interesting novel, came out in 2006.
Yeah, really interesting to find out all these details about the Catalan footprint in Australia. I personally had no idea.
Yeah, they're all over the place. They have 2 cultural centres in Australia, and they have virtual online websites, 10 different ones, ranging from Perth, which is right to the west, all the way down to Tasmania. So there's quite an active.
So what about
Catalan
yourself,
presence.
Maddie? Have you ever been to Australia?
Yeah, I went there 4 years ago, partly because my partner has a very good friend there, a Dutch friend, and we went and stayed there, and I thought it was going to be a bit boring. I thought it was going to be a bit like England, you know, but in fact it's nothing like
with
England.
With kangaroos.
Yes, England with kangaroos, exactly, and the odd koala bear. But in fact, it's a fascinating country. It's completely different. It's the first time I've had this idea that I was almost on another planet. You know, everything is different.
Excellent. Well, any other famous Catalans or Catalans who moved to Australia and became successful?
Well, I know David Nello, who lived there for a while.
Actually, he came to the program.
He's been on the program, okay?
Because he's been on the Weekly Mag.
Then you know that he's the only Catalan I know who speaks perfect English with an Australian accent. He talks with an Australian accent, and he uses Australian English has a whole series of words and phrases that only exist, that only Australians use.
Interesting. Well, and now let's go out in the streets with Nadia. But that will be in a few seconds, because now we go to the first giggles.
I'm Irish, which means it's pretty much impossible to offend me. What are the stereotypes you got? Drunken Irish, you know? I walk into a room, someone goes, "Oh, you're Irish. Will you have a drink?" Now, I could get offended. But then it's almost certain I would never get that drink.
Okay, Nadia, so where have you been to this week?
I went to Reus, and it was my
Reus,
first
nice.
time there, so that was very nice. And I asked people there what makes them cringe.
Okay, and what was the result? Did you find people in Reus tough people, or did they react as you expected them to?
Well, it depends. Some people were quite the easy targets, while others were quite tough, and
Okay.
I really had to work hard. But,
Alright.
you know, there's a reason why we react to this.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh no, no, no. That gives me the shivers.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Are you sure you got
thank
it?
you. Yeah.
that is
Well-
worse than progressive rock in the 70s. That's
And let's find out
Horrible.
why.
Let's find out.
I have a secret. Sometimes I have a sadistic side and I like to torture people.
Usually with my questionable sense of humor. But I thought I would investigate what makes people cringe to see if I can find some new inspiration and motivation. Today's torture devices are going to be Ah! Ah! So I'm wondering, what makes you guys cringe?
Everything that has something to do with the scratching with the nails. Going with this, I cannot afford
Wait,
this
wait, wait, wait.
with the nails. Ah, ah.
No.
What makes you cringe?
Sound of plastic and the sounds of metal by glass. Can I go?
Fine, go. This is
What makes me cringe? Let me think.
Different insights and has a annex.
Yes, reggaeton music. They always put reggaeton. Why not heavy metal?
The cockroach.
Your toe comes back and you see it, and then it comes again, it comes back.
Okay, come close a little bit.
Horrible, no.
Oh
No.
I think it affects me more than you.
Ah!
A little bit.
No, it's not. I played a lot with this when I was children.
All right, I guess this is a fail. Is there any... I don't mind. Is there any person, dead or alive, that makes you cringe?
The Joker, for example, the kings of Spain. If you are watching this, you have to know that if you want money, you have to work. Like everybody of here.
Very repelous.
Victoria Beckham, because she always goes like a doll.
Next one.
Yeah, maybe. Yes.
Maybe? It's working on me though. Ugh. Today was very educational for me, but in case torture is not your thing, I'm going to leave you with a fun fact. The reason why we find those sounds so annoying is because the human ear amplifies sounds within the 2 to 4 kilohertz frequency. These are sounds that are essential for communication. So it's not just human speech, but also all those disturbing sounds that you just heard. There you go. You learned something new, Catalans. You're welcome.
So, yeah, very interesting video. They made you cringe as well, after all.
Yes, they did. And I didn't
Who
expect
did
it.
or what did?
Well, so I had some clue. I know that styrofoam, the sound, if you just move it or break it, it drives me mad. But I didn't think that the sound of this, the screeching sound on the glass and the plate would be that bad for me. So I was actually surprised that I reacted this way.
What about the
I
puppy?
love your shoes. like
The puppy.
That dog, that puppy, loving your shoes. That was quite...
Well, he was cute. At first, he was like licking my foot, so I didn't mind. And then he was just trying to destroy my shoe, then I did mind a little bit. So I really hope you appreciate the lengths I will go to in my videos.
Yeah. Well, what about the man with the goatee? Where was he from?
Well, he was a special case. He was from Germany. So this is something that can make Austrians cringe in general. And he was also a musician. So he told me that he likes all sounds. Of course, I didn't believe him. So I really tried hard to make him cringe. But his biggest concern seemed to be his toe. But
excellent.
Anyways, I mean, no research is complete without your opinion. So my question is, what makes you guys cringe?
Cringe. The television program that my son watches all afternoon. It's a Spanish program. It's on a channel which only shows this program in a loop. It just goes on and on and on from 10 in the morning to 12 o'clock at night.
What's the name?
The name is something Avecina. It's got Jordi Sanchez in, who's quite a well-known Catalan actor. Avecina. And I can't, in fact, I've blotted the name of the program out of my mind, and I do imitations of it in front of my son because it's basically all these people going, hijo de puta, hijo de puta, and then they go on with lots of swearing, and it's horrible, it's horrible. That's really cringe-making.
In this line, I wouldn't stand for bullfighting, for instance. I remember when I was a child watching bullfighting on TV, and that was like that people suffering, animals
I
suffering
agree.
there,
In my case, insects, maybe.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Do you have any like favorite insects or like the opposite of favorite, like the worst?
I don't know, just all of them. I'm not a big fan. I mean, I don't have anything against them, right? But I don't like finding them in my room or, I don't know, in the house or something like that.
I have a mouse in my house.
On purpose?
Yeah. No, not on purpose, Nadia. It got in there without me wanting it to be there. And it's been there, living there for a week now. And I've been asking friends...
It's not a hamster?
No, it's not a hamster, Marius. No, it's a mouse. I've seen it.
It's not a pet. It's not a pet.
No, it's not a pet. It runs around.
It's not invited.
No, it's not invited. It's not wanted. And soon it won't be there at all.
Wow.
If I have anything to do with it. Yes, I've been asking people.
Well, actually, I saw a
can
video on
do.
Facebook on how to build a mousetrap without killing it.
Without killing?
Without killing it. So it's kind of like a container like this, and then you have like 2 planks of wood, and then up there's a hole, so they have to kind of like jump in, and then there is like a carton or something like that, and then when it jumps on it, there's food, obviously. It falls.
Okay.
And then the next mouse, but you only have one, so it should.
And then you put a television inside with this Avecina, the program for the mouse, and some progressive
No, you don't have to torture the
well.
mouse. It's enough if you catch it.
Yeah. Any other things that make you cringe?
Insects, like cockroaches and silverfish and spiders. Those are like I freak out when I see them. And mosquitoes, because I had dengue fever at some point, so now I really hate mosquitoes.
You've had dengue fever?
Yeah.
My God, because that's a life-threatening
It is, yeah.
illness.
You either die or you don't, and there's no cure for it. So you have to kind of like survive or not.
You need to have like a strong immunity system.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Well, we are happy you survived and
Thank
that
you.
you're here today with us. Thank you for your research. Congratulations. Until next time. Okay, now we'll learn and play with Marius Serra with one of his areas of expertise, which is anagrams. But we'll do that after this fast and useful language tip.
Hi, you already know about the apostrophe S to express possession or a close relation. For example, Tim's car or Helen's uncle. But it could be trickier than it seems. If 2 or more share a possession, then we have to use a single apostrophe S at the end. For example, let's imagine that Sarah and Kathy are sisters. Sarah and Kathy's parents live in Manchester, not Sarah's and Kathy's. Sarah and Kathy's parents live in Manchester. But then if we have an individual possessor, the individual possessor takes an apostrophe S each. If we imagine that Sarah and Kathy families live far away from each other, we would say Sarah's and Kathy's families meet once a year. So remember, in a shared possession, one apostrophe S at the end, and with individual possession, one apostrophe S after each possession. Thanks.
In a moment, we'll chat with Mònica and Laura Guiteras about their upcoming show, MeMu. Don't miss it!
Okay, Mario, so let's hear about anagrams. Really interesting topic.
Yeah, I've just brought one of the joys of my library at home. This book is by Suppose We Play. It's in 1925 that was published in the USA. And there are lots of games about children, with children, and only one of them is a game with words, and they are anagrams. Anagram is a sort of very antique playing of words, rearranging the letters of a word, like in listen, silent, for instance, right? You've got this sort of magic thing that with the same letters you find another message. Historically, there are some examples, for instance, with Adolf Hitler. You've got A. Hitler, they just found the liar. You've got just with the initial A, Hitler, you've got the liar. Or Jonathan Swift at Gulliver's Travels has got a sort of conspiration in Tripnia Kingdom. This Tripnia is just Britain. Right? It's a way of disguising something, just hiding some meanings, and it's quite magical, so you can see. I'll make you a question. When Margaret Thatcher went in war in the 80s with the Falkland Islands, called Malvinas by the Argentinians, some newspapers, as usual, were for her, and others were against her. I'll tell you one, a British newspaper, and you have to imagine with the anagrammatic rearranging of its letters, if it was for her or against her, right? The Daily Telegraph.
So we
What do you
need
say?
to guess this anagram, and which will show us if the newspaper was for or against Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah. You can just imagine if the Daily Telegraph
I know the
held-
Daily Telegraph, it was for Margaret Thatcher every
you know
single
that,
day.
But you know why?
Okay.
No.
Now we'll make magic with words. You've got here the Daily Telegraph, and you rearrange these letters and you find, I help the great lady.
Wow.
So
Right.
it couldn't be against, you know?
No.
It
So
couldn't
Matthew
be
was
against. Yeah, you were right because you
Yeah.
knew that in
well,
the editorial.
Everybody in Britain knew, the Daily Telegraph
But
was...
not everybody knew why, right?
No.
Well, let's play a little, but with easy anagrams, for instance. First of all, if I say a phrase and it's hidden, a very well-known American actor, Old West Action. Old West Action. He, in fact, played in lots of westerns. Think about American actors playing in westerns.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the name.
John Wayne can't be because
Okay.
it says Old West Action, no J here.
I'm not even sure I know the actor.
I'm not sure.
Clive.
Yeah, you know the actor.
Yeah?
His name, not family name, but just the name, is Clint.
Eastwood.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Clint Eastwood.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay.
pathetic that we just...
Well,
They're just too hard. You're just making them too long. You should make a short one. I know a short one.
Which one?
Dog.
Doc, forgot. Yeah.
See?
That's
Okay.
Samuel Beckett's one. God Doc. Let's see. A strange lordship hiding an American extravagant politician. Think about American extravagant politician. It's very easy.
Donald Trump.
Let me tell you before the anagram, Lord Damn Nut.
Okay,
Donald
so
Trump.
she's
Ah,
right.
you are anticipating. She's
Well
really
done.
good at that.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, it's great.
Excellent.
I could think of other adjectives other than extravagant. But,
Yeah. Well,
Right.
this is a neologism, this Lord Damp Nut, because it's a. But he is extravagant, in fact.
That's great. A
Okay,
dump nut.
finally, I have tried my best to give an anagram to each one of you.
Really?
Really, it's my present for today.
wow.
The best one, because she's the boss,
Yeah, she's the boss.
is
come
Marcella's
on,
one.
come
No,
on.
but the best one is because your name is quite easy. Marcella has good letters to recombine. So Marcella, I found caramel.
Wow.
And Topor, I found troop. So we are caramel troop,
Okay.
which is quite sweet, in fact.
We are the caramel troop.
The caramel troop.
That's nice.
That's
That's
great.
sweet.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, I like
Matthew,
that. Thank
Matthew
you.
3. Well, it's not so easy because 3 T's. So it's wet, theater, M. And you can imagine everything you can imagine with this M. But wet theater, which that's not sweet, but that's why.
That's wet.
Okay, can we move on to Nadia now? Yeah.
I'm
Well-
worried now. I don't know what you're gonna do with my
I
name.
was worried because Nadia, but Grab Miller, you are not an easy girl, right?
No.
Nadia Grab
that will
Miller. Okay, I did my best, and finally I found arranged bull jam. If you can do a jam session with music, you can do a sort of jam with bulls. I know that jam is like marmalade only with orange jam, but I did my best with these things.
Where's the U?
Arranged bull jam. Bull.
Where's the U? The U with
In
the two
bull.
dots?
In bull.
Ah, okay.
Bull. Yeah.
Well, actually, the U with the two dots
No, no two
transcribes to
dots.
UE.
Oh, yeah.
So you have an extra E if you want to make up something on the spot
I
now.
could say with another letter, with an I.
So you get an additional E because U with two dots
Yeah.
is the equivalent of UE if you spell it out
So,
without, if you don't have that.
well,
the
I'll
U with
try
the
for
dots.
next week to find a
Feel
better
free.
one.
Okay.
Just
an
thinking,
extra
you
letter.
don't like bullfighting. She makes jam out of bulls.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
It's fitting.
Thank you, Matthew.
You know, it's fitting. My last name actually means translated grave Miller, which is also quite violent.
Miller, yeah.
So
Okay.
Okay, Marius, and I have one question for you
For
as
me?
well. Yes. What's the anagram of anagrams?
Oh, that's nice. Anagrams in plural.
Exactly.
Yeah, that it has to be with Ramon Llull, maybe. Ramon Llull said that Ars Magna was the same letters of anagrams. That's it.
Which means great art.
That's it.
And also, that means that Marius is a great artist.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you for giving us so many interesting details about anagrams today.
Okay.
And talking of which, it's time to reveal the solution to last week's Guess Word Enigma.
Yeah. Last week it was a musical reminder of 4 letters. And the answer, do you think? Tick tock, tick tock. A musical reminder.
A musical reminder. I actually got it last week and I've now completely forgotten it.
Musical reminder for letters.
Yeah.
I wasn't there last
Nadia?
week. I have an excuse.
No?
Just 4 letters.
Note?
It's a
Just
note.
4 letters.
A note.
Note.
That's it.
Note.
Yes.
Because a note is a reminder, but it can be a musical note as well. Do, re, mi, which in English, usually when you study the accords, it's with letters A, B, C. A for La, B for C, C for Do, which is very, very difficult.
Okay, and it's time to finish our section Words and Facts, but not before the clue for this week's Guess Word.
It will be a longer word, 11 letters, 11. Conferences about social codes, 11 letters. Conferences about social codes, 11 letters.
Okay, conferences about social codes, 11 letters. Be the first to crack the enigma and post your answer. You can start thinking about it during the next break. Well, Matthew, Marius, Nadia, thank you. Until next
you.
time.
Okay.
And we'll be right back to talk about a new and original show, including theater, puppetry, and music with Laura and Mònica Guiteras. And if I were you, I'd stay tuned. and Mònica Guiteras are artists in a very Renaissance way. Laura is a singer, actress, and more recently a puppet master. Mònica is a sociologist, spokeswoman of the Alliance Against Energy Poverty, and also a singer. The two sisters have become Las Josephines and are working together now in a new show with a very special puppet, MeMu, as a protagonist. Well, Mònica and Laura, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, what can we expect of this show, MeMu?
MeMu is a show about the figure of the universal grandmas, and it's our little homage to this figure because we really love this figure of a woman that supports the family, like in a matriarchy, no?
Mm-hmm. And particularly of our grandmother, called Josefa, and the figure that she represented for us in teaching us so many things and also being an inspiration for the love she had, for example, on plants, on helping other people, on loving just the family and taking care.
So how would you describe this show?
It's kind of a concert, but it's theater as well, and we mix the fact that now we became puppeteers together, and we manipulate the MeMu with these 4 hands. So kind of mixed music and theater and puppets. It's a good mix. We love mixes.
Actually, for this show, you decided to go back to your grandmother's origins, and to investigate a little bit her whole life. Did you discover anything? Did you have any surprises while doing this research about your grandmother?
Well, one interesting thing was that nobody could really remember on what she worked on, because she was always working on so many different things apart from working in her house, no? Which many women have done in all history. So it's like women's jobs weren't taken into account at that moment, but we know she always worked in so many things, no? But people couldn't really remember. And instead of men who everybody remembered, no, he worked on this or that.
Or had that professional, very concrete. But yeah. And it was funny also when we were investigating that she was living a part of her life in France, and another part in Murcia. And then they came to Barcelona when she was married. So we were traveling to France and to Murcia, to the place where, I mean, for example, in Murcia, there was nothing in the area where was supposed to be their house. But we were there with pictures like, okay, if the mountain is here and here is this river, so the house should be here. And it was a kind of a road trip for us to do
and
this.
very, very touching at the same time.
Yeah, and interviewing the family and making people to rescue some memories. It was good.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose it was very emotional.
As well, yeah. We were there with the teachers all the time. Yeah.
Okay, so Miss Brownie is the name of a show that, Laura, you've been performing for a few years. My question is there anything in common between MeMu and Miss Brownie?
Both of them. Mrs. Brownie is around 83 now.
Okay.
And MeMu is we don't know the age, but MeMu is an old woman as well. So I think it's our love for grandmas. Now that both of our grandmas are died, so we're looking for this figure to invent it and to be present in our lives.
One thing is sure, MeMu is not a traditional puppet. You brought her here today to build it, and can you? We would like to see MeMu. Can you introduce her to us?
Sure.
Yes. So let's see.
Do it. Ready?
This is a whole ritual, right?
Yeah.
Duérmete ya. Ochenta de la luz, 40 de la luz, suma y sigue. The memory of women. Grandma used to say so. The memory of women. Mental load. Mental the memory of women. Grandma used to say so. Grandma used to say so. Grandma used to say so.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Lots of imagination. I'm quite amazed to, nice to meet you, MeMu. So what did you decide to use an iron instead of a more traditional puppet like Miss Browning?
That's actually our grandmother's iron machine.
Ah, okay.
That's what she used to use. It's one of the old ones. So we wanted to make her present through all these objects and to use actually what she had at that time.
So how did you get this idea of using the iron and the glasses?
Well, we tried to perform like Mrs. Browning's style, like original puppet, like this. But it didn't work because MeMu has two voices, which is Monica's and my voice. So we needed a face that had no mouth. So that was perfect. And the way that she shares half of the body, Monica and me, so when she moves, she's like holding the hands, and she's like this, or she wants to move the legs, she goes like this, and it's like we make the fact of the puppets. The good thing is to make them alive, like an instrument or an object that is not alive. If it breathes, or if it thinks, or if it can look or say things, it makes.
This, there's a lot of coordination in here, right?
We try. That's what we try to do.
Does it help the fact that you're sisters? Do you find it more difficult or easier to work
For some
together?
things, it's very useful because we've been,
all our lives together.
Yeah. So it makes easier to coordinate, but at the same time, we know each other so much that, getting a little bit angry is sometimes very easy, no?
Sometimes just the way she looks or the way I do, my face changes. She's like, you don't like that. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I like it. And I can't lie to her.
But on the whole, I'm sure there are more advantages than disadvantages, right?
Of course. It's a pleasure to work together.
So this is a premiere, and we also need to mention the fact that the show hasn't opened yet. It hasn't premiered. When is the premiere of the show, in fact?
Will be in 2020, the beginning of the year, but still can't say because it's not it's a secret.
We're not allowed.
We're not allowed, yes.
All right. So we've had today what we can call an exclusive a demonstration of the MeMu show, right?
Yes.
We are honored.
Thank you.
Okay, and one last question for Mònica. In this case, you are quite involved in feminism, in the feminist movement, and also you are involved in the Alliance Against Energy Poverty. So how much of this experience of yours can we actually see in MeMu?
I think what we try to do with MeMu and what many social movements try to do nowadays is to give voice to those who couldn't speak. So that's what we do with MeMu. We give her voice to tell all the stories, to tell also all the gender inequality they had and we still have. That's why we are fighting. And give voice because those messages we believe had to be told at that time, but also nowadays.
Well, and we're running out of time, but we have one last question for Mònica and Laura. We call it the question chain, and it's a question that comes from our last week's guests. It just happens they are Daniel Mayer and Diana Roig, the assistant director and the actress on the role of Audrey of La Tienda de los Horrores musical. And this is their question, or rather their request.
Hey there, I'm Diana Roig and he's Daniel Mayer.
That's me. So the question for you is,
Chin, 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 chin.
Can you sing a musical song, a duet, all of you together?
Okay, so are you ready for the challenge?
We invent things always. So honestly, we love musicals, but we don't know a real musical because we are always inventing. So yeah, we're not very good.
Okay.
But we can invent her own musical, Josephines.
Oh yes.
One, two, three.
Les Josephines, 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 les Josephines.
Oh, that was brilliant. And spontaneous as well? Or not?
Kind of. It's our song about our grandma. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the main theme of the show.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about the show MeMu, which we are looking forward to see next year, hopefully.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. Well, and today, what have you prepared for us?
We have a song that is called Free Love, and it's kind of our favorite right now.
Excellent. Well, thank you to the last Josephines, okay, Mònica and Laura Guiteras. Good luck with everything, and hope to see you again soon. And goodbye, MeMu, as well.
Thank you.
Well, while Laura and Mònica prepare on stage, we've got something for you. The One of Us today features Lawrence Nani, a Brit who never danced until he bumped by chance into the Impresentables hoppers from La Garriga. He discovered swing and Lindy Hop and wanted to join straight away. Don't miss the video.
Hi, my name's Lawrence. I live here in La Garriga and I fell in love with swing dancing 7 years ago. So I moved to La Garriga 15 years ago and it was a bit random. I wanted to try living somewhere that wasn't England, and I initially thought that I would come here just for 1 year, but after 1 year I decided to stay and I'm still here. It's a lovely place. I'd never danced before, swing or anything else, and I remember walking through the town square here in La Garriga and seeing some people dancing Lindy Hop, and I fell in love with it then, and I said, I'm going to do that. The first few classes, I was incredibly nervous. I'm very British, and if you dance Lindy Hop, you have to grab people and hold them and touch them, And I was very nervous when I first started, and you shouldn't be. We signed up straight away, and just a few of us from here in La Garriga, and Carna and Jordi, they started a dance school here in La Garriga. They've been working in Barcelona before, and there was just a few of us, maybe 10, and they didn't have a place to dance, so we danced in the municipal theatre. And then after the lesson, we would go out into the street and dance in the street, and we weren't very good, but we had a fantastic time. The association, the Impresentables Hoppers La Garriga, is fantastically dynamic, huge amounts of energy. So in the beginning, it was just a handful of us, and we've grown at one point to 130 people dancing here in La Garriga. Did it spread by word of mouth? No, it spread because we went out and we danced, and people saw us dancing and they got involved. And we've been involved with Festa Major, and there are regular dances in the squares throughout the year. We've also had international bands come here and play. It's much more common in Catalonia now and around the world, Lindy Hop, but here in La Garriga we were one of the first wave of Lindy Hop associations and swing dances, and it was a wonderful time. When we dance in the town squares, then there's always lots of children around. They weren't maybe not dancing or paying any attention to the adults, but it's a very community-based activity. It's a really happy dance that's full of energy. Also, everybody dances with everybody. So you don't just dance with the partner that you came with, you can come without a partner, and you swap with each song. So it's very inclusive. You can feel, when you're learning, you can feel some pressure to get it right, although particularly in La Garriga, everybody is very understanding, and we end up laughing a lot because it's a very welcoming dance. Get on the dance floor, grab somebody, get involved.
Received from me, and remember, when you try them, they taste just like me. Don't forget that I won't be always by your side. If you give, I'll give as well. If you cry, I'll do the same. I love to give. I every day. Do you remember? Every moment, every time we want to feel alive together. Every conversation, every meditation hesitates, you know I'm mine. Make me feel special any day of the year. And love is not for free, and love is not for free, and love is not for free. And love is not for free, and love is not for free, and love is not for free.
Welcome back. Rugby was the first link between Dima from Lebanon and Montse from Barcelona. They are both fans of this sport and met in a rugby club in London. However, what started as a good friendship soon became more than that, because now, after 14 years, they live in Barcelona and have 2 children. Let's check out their love story.
Hello, I'm Mònica, I'm from Barcelona.
Hi, I'm Dima and I'm from Beirut. We've been together for 14 years.
We met in a rugby club in London, in West London. I was doing my PhD in London. I got a bursary to stay there for 3 years, and I always played rugby since I was 18. And then I joined this club. The first year it was fine, she wasn't there, but the second year she came. she came to the club, and then we met and we started being friends, no? And
yeah, we started being friends, and then I asked her out for dinner over to my place, and that's how it all started.
Yeah.
So I invited her for dinner. So technically I took the first step, but she was making lots of eyes and
yeah, more movements, yeah.
moves.
Yeah, I was a bit shy. She was more. No, you were more. But let's do it. But I guess I was more on the background. I was working.
I think for me the funniest and kind of thing about is Karatillo. I was in hysterics on the floor. I mean, it's such an amazing, funny cultural thing, but that for me is I would say the most surprising or funny.
I think for me it's more the food, the Arabic food. Now we are eating more Arabic food like mutabal and hummus, and as well for me is to hear in Arabic so much when her family is around. She has 2 brothers and sometimes they come, and her mom, and they all speak Arabic. And I don't know, before for me the Arabic was like the language for immigrants, for the North Africans, and I didn't pay attention to it. But now hearing Arabic at home is it's interesting how you change, your perception of what the Arab world is. And also because at the beginning she says she's Arabic and she was from Beirut, I thought she was Muslim, but no, she's Christian. So also recognizing that there are Christians in the Arab world and all these things, I think for me it's been very enlightening.
I think for me, so even though in the Arab world we eat quite late, I'd been in the UK for such a long time that actually I'd become used to sort of the hours from the English culture, right? And so coming here and having dinner at 9, that was, and we used to do that when we were sort of without kids, and now we've got back into the eating at 7 or 7:30, which is more like the UK.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think there's anything that we kind of went, I'm not doing that. No. So I'm a lawyer, and I think just part of my work, I'm quite structured, and Monsi's an academic and she's very unstructured, and so I think that it comes out very, very clearly in our relationship.
That she needs organization, and I don't need as much. I mean, it's good, like, I have to say that it's good to have someone next to you that's so organized. Sometimes it's a bit too much.
Yeah, that's true.
I need her to understand that life is more complex and they have some things that sometimes you can't control. So plans need to be changed. So I'm always on the
periphery. She always changes my plans, and then we're always.
I know she's really hard on that side. Emotionally, she's much stronger, so, and I am less. So I presume it was easier for me to say than for her.
She's a Scottish potter and now an awarded and successful novel author as well. The Doll Factory, Atelier de Ninas, is her first novel, born and grown in her small studio of East London, where she makes her ceramics. Well, Elisabeth Macneal, welcome to the Weekly Mag.
Thank you so much for having me on here. It's a total joy.
It's a great pleasure. Well, just to get a glimpse of your book success, The Doll Factory won the Catalonia First Novel Prize, has become a Sunday Times bestseller, has been translated into 28 languages, and will have a film adaptation as well. So, Elisabeth, how are you coping with all this great success?
Well, obviously it's sort of slightly overwhelming, but I try not to think of it in those terms. Because I've been dreaming of being a published writer for such a long time, and so much of the book actually is about dreams and ambitions and hope. And to get here it just feels a total privilege to have readers and to have people, in Spain reading my book, for example. So I just kind of try and focus on that aspect of things, and also just my love of writing.
Well, actually, you began writing the book in a creative writing course.
Yes, I did.
Is that correct? And then your book has been purchased at an auction for 6 figures. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right.
How important is it to have a good agent?
Oh, I think it's really important. I think not only in terms of making deals and then meaning that I'm able to write full time, which I'm incredibly lucky to be able to do, but also just to have someone with you along the way, and someone who I trust her in every regard. I trust her as an editor, I trust her as a person, I trust every single decision she makes. So it's just great to work with my agent and my editor too at my publishers.
So let's talk about The Doll Factory.
Yes.
It has been described as a Victorian thriller.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this description?
Actually, when I was writing it, I never thought of it as a thriller. I actually feel it's an enormous compliment to be called a thriller, because when I was writing it, what I was thinking, I want the story to keep turning. I want to make sure that every single chapter almost feels like a short story, so it's got its own sort of arc where the reader kind of feels pulled through the story and they want to stay with the characters and they want to find out what happens. And I suppose that is a thriller, but just at the time I never thought of it in those terms, but it's a big compliment.
More information about the book. It is set in 1850. So we are talking about the Victorian period. What attracted you about this period, and especially you are talking about you have this great fascination of the pre-Raphaelite brotherhood.
Yeah, so I've been interested in the Victorian era for a really long time, actually. Ever since I was 15 or 16, I read lots of Victorian fiction, so George Eliot, Thomas Hardy, Charles Dickens, and I think what really attracted me to it is the light and the dark. And I love that it feels like a century of contrasts, and I really enjoyed looking into that in the novel, as well as the fact it's sort of it's an age of collection and objects with mass manufacture on the rise, and you've got the great exhibition.
Exactly.
And yeah, as I mentioned, it's so much a book about dreaming and ambition. So to set it in a century where everyone kind of wants to be recognised, and even the city, London itself, has the great exhibition where it kind of wants to put itself on the map and to have itself recognised as this place of commerce and culture and industry, it felt.
How did you do your research about this period? Because it's very detailed. Your descriptions are so rich, no, and so visual. It almost feels like you're in a film when you're reading the book. Actually, you watch it in your mind. It's very easy to visualize it as a film.
Oh, thank you. That's a big compliment. I think so. I already knew quite a lot about Victorian London, so it almost made it easier, because then I could start writing, because I always wanted to make sure that I had an eye firmly on the characters and the story, rather than putting in every single research detail. But it meant that I knew what my gaps were, so I could then go and if I set a scene in a pub, I could go and look at what a pub looked like in the Victorian era, as well as kind of the amazing nuggets that you find in research. Even that the pre-Raphaelites had an obsession with wombats. So I've got a wombat, Guinevere, who was sort of loosely inspired by Rossetti, who had a wombat called
She's
Pops.
a really nice touch in the novel, very funny at times, no, and very familiar.
Yeah, yeah. I became a little bit obsessed with wombat facts when I was writing the book, and particularly the pre-Raphaelites and their love of wombats. Yeah. And
the wombat in the book, Guinevere,
yes,
indulges itself with chocolate and
it's Guinevere's unfortunately departed friend Lancelot, because Rossetti, he had a wombat Tops. He had a very sickly menagerie where he even trained a toucan to ride on the back of a llama. And he had all sorts of wild animals like kangaroos, but his wombat Tops, who was I think very poorly cared for, died, the rumour goes, after eating a box of cigars, which is poor Tops, but
poor Guinevere. The main character, it's a woman.
Yes,
Iris. We need to mention the fact that the book is also a feminist book.
Yeah.
In many ways. Let's talk a little bit about that aspect.
Yeah. So Iris, she is at the heart of the novel, and she is a woman who really wants to have personal and creative freedom. So she wants to paint. She just wants her own very small space.
And it wasn't easy in those times to become a painter, no, as a woman.
It wasn't. Where your currency a lot of the time was your beauty and therefore your ability to marry. And her sister has her face ruined by smallpox, and that means that she is not able to escape her situation through the conventional means of marriage. But and even modelling was seen as being the same as being a prostitute, because you were on display, you were being looked at by a man, and so it had all of those connotations. But in terms of your question about it being a feminist novel, as a woman writing in 2019, I could only write really a novel that I felt reflected my own concerns. And I just think that all of the concerns of the past, I felt like it's almost like shining a light on the problems we face now. So many of them, even though it's set 170 years ago, so many of the concerns are the things I feel now about, being looked at, the male gaze, the sense of your space always kind of being encroached on and often feeling like you have to make yourself quite small, and just the fight to resist that. And Iris, she wants to resist that. She wants to have her own voice. She says at one point, "I am a woman, not an exhibit."
Where did you find the inspiration for this character?
I think she came really from a woman, Elisabeth Macneal.
Okay.
And she ended up marrying Dante Gabriele Rossetti. One of the pre-Raphaelite artists, and she started off life in a bonnet making shop, just like Iris starts off life in this doll making shop. and she found her life transformed as she was sort of thrown into this decadent world of art and painting. And I just thought, what would that feel like? What would that feel as a woman at this time to have your life changed? Where on the one hand for her it was a rise because she could achieve her dreams of painting, but on the other hand society saw it as a degradation, and where freedom can both be kind of liberating and everything you've wanted, but at the same time it can feel sometimes terrifying. It's almost too expansive. So I was looking a lot at that.
It's a book about all these painters and the famous character Iris, who is an artist herself, but you are also an artist. You're a ceramist.
Yes.
And used to paint as a teenager.
I did. In fact, I was so obsessed with painting as a teenager that I had to give it up because all of my subjects suffered because I thought, oh, I don't want to do my maths homework. I want to paint these flowers or self-portraits. I painted some self-portraits in quite a vain way that teenagers often have. And that kind of love of painting in quite an amateur way, that is where Iris is at the beginning of the novel, where she's just enjoying that kind of creativity.
How much of you is in Iris?
A lot, actually,
Really?
I have to say, particularly in the early chapters, because as I mentioned before, I dreamed for so long of being a writer. And I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to a little cafe near where my job was. And I used to sit there and I just used to write. And it was kind of this little world of creative freedom and enjoyment where everyone else was asleep. And that's what Iris does at the beginning of the book. She's painting in the cellar of the doll making shop, and that for her is such an important moment, but she's dreaming and she's wanting something. And so many of the characters in the book want something. It's Iris, she wants to be a painter. Silas dreams of opening his own museum. He's a deluded collector. And Albie, who's this little toothless urchin, just wants to have his own set of false teeth. So everyone in the character is just sort of desperately dreaming and hoping that what they want will be realised. And that's what I felt like when I was writing the book, dreaming of being published. And I guess sitting here, it feels so surreal. And
well, it's a great pleasure for us. What about ceramics? I mean, writing requires determination and of course, a lot of talent and patience. What about ceramics? What role does it play in your life?
So I really enjoy ceramics, and even though they're both creative, I quite like them for opposite things. So writing is very sort of mentally demanding, and pottery is very physically demanding. But I find, when I'm doing something so mechanical with my hands, I'm able to think about my novel and the plot in quite a kind of intense way without even realizing it. And I also try and sort of learn lessons from pottery, which I apply to writing. So I think, if I've made a mug, I can make another mug. And if I've written a book, I can write another book. At least that's how my logic goes, but sometimes it's not always easy to see.
What sort of ceramics do you do? Like pots and plates or?
Functional things. Because I think with writing, I obsess so much on getting it right that with pottery, it's quite nice actually just make something functional and just think, is this a mug? Does it hold tea? Yes, it does. Therefore, I have succeeded in my aim. So yeah, I make a lot of mugs. I can't seem to make enough mugs, but they seem to be very popular.
Do you like movies about gangsters? Don't miss Guess What about the crime syndicate with our quizmaster, Sergi Cervera.
And we're back to our chat with the Scottish writer Elisabeth Macneal about her first and successful novel, The Doll Factory, translated into Catalan as El Taller de Nina. So today, we couldn't invite any other than our collaborator expert in literature, Malcolm Otero. Well, Malcolm, welcome. So,
hello.
Have you read The Doll Factory?
I read the book. So my first question is about the title. Could you explain a little bit about why this title to us?
Yes, so I'll just say it in English, The Doll Factory. So at the very beginning of the book, Iris is working in this doll making shop and she paints the faces and the feet of dolls. So I suppose that is the most literal interpretation of that. But then when she's noticed by the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, she finds her life changes and she finds herself kind of thrown into this world of artists and art, where they're doing radical things, but then at the same time, she finds her face as a model almost being painted like a doll. And the artist who paints himself, he calls his studio the factory. And I also like the connotations of dolls, where it's sort of also about objectification, where not only is she objectified in the canvases, but there is a sinister character called Silas, who is this lonely and deluded collector. And then when he sees Iris by chance at the construction site of the Great Exhibition, that's when he starts this kind of dark obsession with her.
Talking to Marcella previously, you said that Victorian time, Victorian era was like light and dark, and it's more or less what happens in your novel. There's the dreams of a girl and this sinister character you have. But getting back to this time, to this period, you said it's dark and light, but when I think about this time, I think about exploited child, I think about taking pictures of your relatives when they are dead.
Yeah.
I think of crazy ideas of medicine. Don't you think it's a very, very messed up time?
I think that, you know, every time that with the benefit of hindsight, you can look back and you can see a time is messed up. And I'm sure that people will look now at our time and, you know, ignoring environment and Britain and Brexit. I mean, what is going on with that? You know, we'll look back and see it as a messed up time. But I think it was a time of innovation and ambition too. And that was messed up because a lot of the time, kind of human beings were caught up in that churn. And Albie, the character, you know, his life is pitiful. It's very, very tragic. But he doesn't see it that way. And so, yeah, I think there is a lot of darkness. But I find it fascinating that the society kind of has this veneer, this skin, where it wants to portray itself as sort of so upstanding and good and virtuous, but you've got so much murkiness going on below it.
Mm-hmm. The character of the taxidermist and morbid collector, it's a character of his time.
Yeah.
And even the same concept of the doll factory gives a very literary atmosphere. Are you really prepared to walk about cell phones, neon, products made in China, I don't know, traffic jams?
Yeah, I love the kind of the richness of research, and I don't know if I could write a contemporary novel. There are so many contemporary novelists that I love and I admire their work, but I love the sort of the small details that you get in the Victorian era and the kind of the lushness of it and how it feels both alien but also very familiar too. You know, that it is just kind of that eternal human nature. So yeah, maybe I am scared of contemporary. I need to kind of distance it in a way, but also that kind of amplifies our concerns now.
So what about your next novel? Do you have any ideas for that?
Yes, so it's also historical. I can't get away from historical. When I was researching the Doll Factory, there were just so many other things that I wanted to explore around that era. So it also looks, I suppose, at the light and the dark. It's set in a Victorian circus. And I'm just beginning it actually, because I spent a whole year working on a different novel which I just put in the bin. So I know it was hard. It was because I thought it wasn't working, and I thought that was second novel syndrome. I thought that was just my head, you know. And then there came a point where I realised it just wasn't working. So. Yeah. So
about your next novel, will it be set in London as well, or maybe in another city like Edinburgh, maybe?
So it's actually set really mainly in the countryside because the circuses kind of moved between towns and villages. So it's a bit of a travelling novel with a bit in London, but not that much.
Okay.
Well, circus are scary. You said you talk a little bit about your second novel. We have examples of first novel whose success eclipses a career. We have Helen Fielding and her Bridget Jones novel. We have J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter series. We don't know if there's life after Harry Potter for her. Even Jonathan Safran Foer and Everything is Illuminated. Are you afraid of what we call the Rick Astley effect? Rick Astley was a singer. You weren't born because you're so young, but who sung a song called "Never Gonna Give You Up," and this effect is after having a great opera prima, very successful, and plummeted into the abyss of oblivion.
Oh, of course I'm terrified of that. And like I was saying earlier, using pots almost to be like, I've made a mug, I can make another mug, that almost sort of being a therapy to myself that I can do it again. And there are times when I really worry that this is all I will do, but then I love writing and I feel so excited about this second novel and getting back to my laptop and writing again. And my biggest hope, my biggest dream is that every novel I write will be better than the book before it. And, you know, I won't be introduced in 10, 15 years' time as the author of The Doll Factory, but the author of the book I've just written. So that's what I hope.
We can be more optimistic. There are also authors that...
Oh, yeah, of course.
The Rachel Papers, Martin Amis, and now it's a very consolidated author. We have Ian McEwan and the Simon Garden. We have Sadie Smith, White Teeth. So
she's
don't
wonderful.
worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
But most of them, when they talk about this first book, they say that they felt uncomfortable because the public exposure was too high, and they were very afraid of not meeting the expectations.
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Are you afraid of it?
Always. I've always had imposter syndrome, I think. And I suppose to a degree, Iris in the novel, she sort of has imposter syndrome where her life changes sort of like that. And she thinks, does she deserve this? Is this right? Can she live up to it? And I think that's sort of human nature. I think I'd be a psychopath if I felt like I deserved everything I've got and I sort of settled into it easily. I mean, yeah, it is a terrifying thing. It's a wonderful thing, and I try and focus on the privilege of having readers and the privilege of being able to make a living through writing, which is everything I've wanted. So I try almost to shut that off and not really reflect on it that much. But that also means that I'm very bad at celebrating success because I'm always like, no, put it to the side. Got to focus on what's next. So.
Well, don't get obsessed if you get only 27 or 26 translations with your next novel.
Oh my God, I think I'd lose all of my friends if I started, saying that.
Well, Elisabeth, you said before that you used to wake up at 5 a.m. to write. Tell us more about your writing routine. Do you still do that? What kind of writer are you? Are you very disciplined and you write every day, or you write, I don't know, whenever you have the time and inspiration? How does that work in your case?
So I no longer do that. I only did that because it was necessity. That was the only time I could fit it around a full-time job. But now, of course, I have the delight of being able to write whenever I want. So I write. I'm very disciplined about sitting at my desk every day from 9 in the morning till 6 in the evening. Because there was an author who described writing as 90% bum on chair, and I think that is right. Otherwise, if whenever I think, oh, I need to go for a walk for inspiration, it's because I'm making excuses for myself, and I actually just need to sit there and thrash the thing out. So.
But Philip Roth always said that writing is not a job. Do you feel the same way?
I feel it is a job. But I mean, it's sort of, I make income from it and I have the delight of enjoying it. I mean, sometimes it's very difficult, but I suppose I do think of it as a job. Yeah,
and then whenever you have a break, you go and do some pottery.
Exactly.
No? Like another mug or something.
Yeah.
When back to writing.
Completely. when I'm struggling with it, and sometimes I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, then it can be really satisfying to go out to the pottery shed and throw some mugs and think, well, at least I've achieved something. Here they are, a tangible thing, rather than.
I think it's good to have this alternative, no?
Yeah, deeply antisocial, though.
Okay, well, if you're looking for an interesting read, Al Taller de Ninas, The Doll Factory by Elisabeth Macneal, we recommend it very strongly. Well, Elisabeth, thank you so much for coming and sharing your time with us. By the way, is this your first time in Catalonia?
It is not. I came to Barcelona when I was 14, but I don't know. It's so long ago, and I'm sure Barcelona's changed so much that. Yeah, I'm really excited to be back, and I've got 2 days after this where I can explore the city, and I can't wait.
Well, we hope you like it. We hope you enjoy
I will love it.
I have some tips for you.
Okay, great.
Okay, Malcolm will show you around if you want.
Amazing.
Okay, well, Malcolm, thank you so much, and until next time. Well, and now we'll take a break, but we'll be right back with Guess What? Stay tuned.
Hi. Sometimes we use the word whom instead of who, but when do we use who and when do we use whom? In formal English, we use the word who to refer to the subject, and the word whom refers to the object. Listen to the difference in these two questions. Who kissed Michael? Whom did Michael kiss? In the first sentence, we've got who refers to the subject. Someone kissed Michael. Whereas in the second sentence, whom did Michael kiss? Michael is the subject, and whom is the object. Michael kissed someone. A good way to think if it's correct is to try and rebuild the sentence using him or they instead of who. For example, whom did you tell? Did you tell them? Did you tell him? Then you can see it works. However, the truth is that nowadays, whom is actually really too formal to use in everyday situations. And really, we only really use whom in extremely formal writing. Thanks very much. Hope that helped.
Well, today we are having quite a literary show. You've got Atelier de Ninas, but you can also find English books at your local library. Well, listen to the following recommendations from the Xarxa de Bibliotecas Municipals of the Diputació de Barcelona.
Some readers like reading romance. Many other people enjoy reading books about adventure. A portion of the public prefers solving mysteries or reading about how crimes were committed. Okay, if you were to choose a topic that leaves nobody indifferent, this is ghosts. And if you had to choose a person to choose the best ghost stories ever written in English, who would you choose? I think Roald Dahl is a very good candidate for this purpose. Roald Dahl spent years and years and years and years and years of his life reading all the ghost stories in the English language he could to choose the best ones. And he recompiled them in this volume. If you like ghosts, this is the volume for you. Read everything about Roald Dahl's book of ghost stories and tell me all about it.
This is an edition of 2 short stories in the collection Read and Listen by Pons Idiomas. In this volume, we have 2 short stories by Margaret Atwood and Alice Munro, 2 female literary authors. This edition is very special because you can read an original literary text with all the help that you may need, with dictionary with the most uncommon words, and CD with a narration on it, and it's a very good way to start reading in original language.
And it's time for our quiz. Guess what? Let's welcome our favorite quiz master, a true fan of space, quizzes and comedy. Maybe that's why the only thing he's consistent with is his vest. Sergi, nice vest, by the way.
Thank you. It's just to impress you. Did I
I'm very
impress
impressed. I'm very impressed.
Yay.
It looks good on you. You look like a true gentleman.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Marcella. Hi, everyone. This season I have put you all to the test about jobs, space, home, and Ireland. So the next logical step is mafia. Yes,
Ooh.
I know. Bribery, blackmail, extortion, swindle, robbery, and organized killings are not a very nice thing. But like it or not, mobsters have gone into history and fiction, so we will see how much you know about it.
And let's introduce our contestants today, beginning with today's guest, Rachel Brown from Jamaica.
Hi.
She appeared in our e-speaker section and teaches legal and business English and is also doing her PhD. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And we are
Hi.
also happy to have you. So you're from Jamaica.
Yes.
And you love it.
Love
and
it.
we love it.
And
as
we
well.
love it as well.
Do you go back home often?
At least once a year. I wish I could go back more often.
Are you inviting us to come with you next time?
You know, if you want to come, the problem is you might not come back. So
And no one is going to present the show, so we
maybe
would
you
be
could
an issue.
film from Jamaica.
Okay, that would be a great idea. And of course, let's also say hi to our collaborators, Mark Broderick and Patricia Escalona. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome back, I might say. Well,
Thank you.
as I said, Patricia is back, so the game today is likely to be a difficult one, guys.
Well, it's obviously going to be won by Patricia. That's what you're trying to say, right?
We will see. Let's start with our multiple choice challenge. Since we are dedicating our quiz to mobsters, we have asked people to confess their past wrongdoings. So here's our first witness who owned up to a robbery at the Museo del Prado.
This is not for the police. No, I think so. No, just one thing in the Museo del Prado.
Wow, that's the start of a criminal life. So, what do you guys think he stole from the Museo del Prado? Here are the options. Option A postcard of El Guernica. Option B, a sign saying "Don't touch." How useful would that be? And option C, he stole Las Meninas by Velázquez, but he regretted it and brought it back. So what do you guys think?
I think he stole a postcard.
He stole the postcard,
I'm gonna go
Rachel?
with A as well.
At the postcard?
Yes.
Definitely not. He definitely stole the "do not touch" sign. Because if I was there, it's exactly what I would go for. It's like just that tempting noise, don't touch, don't touch. I'm gonna go with that one.
Okay, so we have two option A for you guys and the option B for Mark. Let him confess his crimes.
I took an advice: don't touch one table, because I was touching the table, and one guy told me that was not possible, and was very nice, and I took it. But I was a teenager and just joking with friends, and I left in the entrance when we went out.
Wow. Job well done, Mark.
I always start well, but I finish terribly. So
it's right. I have to say, what would you want a postcard of El Guernica if you have the chance of having a sign that says "Don't touch"?
I'm getting really scared here, you know, because it's not just Mark, that guy as well, and you. It's like, there's many of you, so...
You could get it and hang it around your neck.
It makes total sense. All right, by the way, guys, I gave you a clue for you. There was an impossible option, which was A, because the Guernica is not in el Museo del Prado. Of course, it was no way of knowing if he had stolen a sign or one of the world's best-known paintings.
That's bullshit.
Job well done, Mark.
We're just warming up.
Well done, Mark. That's a good start. 1 point for Mark.
So our first witness is straightening out and is now a law-abiding citizen. But watch closely at the confession of our second witness.
Maybe stole a rubber in the school or something like that.
Yes, he began stealing a rubber, but that took him down a dangerous road. Where did his career of evil end? I'm very serious in that. Okay, so here are the options.
Yes, he's very serious indeed.
Exactly, absolutely, sorry. It's right here. So option A, he once ran away from a bus ticket collector who had called the police. Option B, he stole a Gaudi's tale from La Pedrera. And option C, he was fined for driving down the Barcelona rondas at more than 100 kilometers per hour. What a criminal, right?
Those are very plausible, actually. It's not like...
Well, the Gaudi's tale from La Pedrera, that's a possible one.
Yeah.
So what's your pick? I'm not giving any clue.
Ladies first, Patricia.
I'd go for speeding at the ronda.
Speeding, like, that's my day-by-day crime, you know, like my normal crime.
I'm gonna go with A.
Option A.
He ran away.
Run away. And Mark?
I'm so inching for the one of the tail, but the logic dictates it probably C. Going at 100 kilometers down the rondas, which I've done before. Sorry.
Okay, here's the criminal's confession.
100 kilometers per hour in the Ronda of Barcelona or something like that. Not extreme, but the photo arrives at home.
Congratulations, Patricia and Mark. You're
Congrats.
doing very well. You
It's
trust
because I
me.
don't have the mind of a criminal.
Exactly.
It's like,
You're just
Positive
proving.
reinforcement, Rachel.
Right.
It's okay. Well done. Well done. Well
I'm
done.
going to
Good.
channel my inner darkness.
Okay, and today Mark is in the lead with 2 points, followed by Patricia 1 point, and Rachel for the moment no points, but the game is not over.
Right.
Not points, but the most honest option.
Exactly.
Right.
All right, so let's finish with a legal woman now, but with a dark past.
Ooh.
Starting that I'm a legal woman, I would say that sometimes when I was young, I downloaded music or movies from internet illegally.
Oh.
All right, there goes the first confession, but don't you ever think that that was all? No, no. What else did she do? A, she used to run away from bars without paying. B, she once didn't swipe her ticket in the underground. And C, she delved into shoplifting. What do you think?
All right, I answered A for the first two. I mean, it has to be A for at least one of the three, right? So I'm going to go with A.
Option
Be
A.
consistent.
She used
Ran
to
away.
run away.
Yeah.
All right, Mark?
The expression hacer una simpa is what I learned here in Spain, in Catalonia.
Yeah.
Sorry, in Spain.
That's
Whatever.
fine.
I think I'm going to go with A as well. She ran away without the bill.
It was as simple as that. Just say A. Patricia.
Don't confuse
What
myself.
was the B one, sorry?
B was, she once didn't swipe her ticket in the underground. That's a criminal.
That's a criminal act?
That's a very, very, very serious offense.
Okay, no, shoplifting.
So let's make this bird sing.
I could remember maybe sometimes doing some simpas when maybe a bar was crowded and nobody attended us, so we said like, okay, we are taking this drink for free.
Well, all right, we
I'm a
all,
mind reader.
we
I'm a
all
mind
have
reader.
a pass. Probably maybe not as hard as that.
Right.
But that means point to Rachel.
Finally.
Congratulations. Finally, you're right
Thank
about
you.
the possibilities. And Mark, point to you.
Well, Sergio, I think Mark is quite inspired today, don't you think?
Definitely, absolutely. He's on the lead with 3 points, and right after Rachel and Patricia are having 1 point each. But no worries, because right now we are accelerating the guess what, and we are moving to the speech challenge. Are you guys ready?
I bet they are, but before that, a bit of stand-up comedy with the giggles.
I really identify with Catalan people because I'm Jewish, and Catalans are basically the Jews of Spain. Like, we have so much in common. We love money, everyone hates us. That's about it. It's fun being Jewish here in Spain because there aren't that many of us, so I get a lot of really fun questions. Like, once someone asked me, do Jews believe in God? And I was like, yeah, we invented him. That was us. We did it. We started the trilogy. It's us.
All right, so second round. Here is a challenge where you have to use a bell, a horn, or a hammer to answer.
As always, our guest contestant will have the bell. That is Rachel. Mark and Patricia have already got used to the horn and the hammer anyway.
Says you. I'm not used to it.
Well, I hope so.
You guys can definitely try them to warm up. And let's remember that now every right answer will be worth 2 points. Ooh. And this round works like this. We will give you a name of an actor and a character, and you will have to tell us the name of the movie or the TV series it belongs to. Mind you, you can ring the bell, honk the horn, or hit the hammer and answer before we finish the sentence. You guys ready?
No.
Well, never mind,
This is where
because
Patricia gets into her own,
because
you know?
we'll start anyway. Number 1, Johnny Depp as Donnie Brasco.
Patricia.
Donnie Brasco.
That's correct, 2 points for you. James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano. Mark.
The Sopranos.
The Sopranos,
Wow.
that's right, 2 points to you.
The third one, Diane Keaton as Catherine Corleone.
Patricia.
The Godfather.
The Godfather,
Yes.
correct.
They're fast.
Ready? Al Pacino as Tony Montana. Mark.
Scarface.
Scarface, correct. Rachel, you have
I'm not fast enough. We're fast
tell
on
you
the
what, I'll hold
track, but this,
I'm gonna try to wink before
Wait.
saying.
And you can ring it before they end up reading. So if you hear
You
something
can
that you know, just
exactly.
like,
You can just ring the bell.
Okay, let's go on. Robert De Niro as Al Capone.
Mark.
I was going to say a taxi driver. No, it's not.
Then she rang the bell. So your chance.
As Al Capone, the Untouchable.
That's correct. Point to Rachel. Love it.
Well
Robert De Niro as Vito Corleone. Mark.
The Godfather.
The Godfather. Hold on. The Godfather is not part
3.
Damn it! Wrong answer. So who was the second one? It was
Part 1.
incorrect.
Part 2.
Points to Patricia. 2 points to her. That's right.
Okay, Robert De Niro as Noodles.
Mark.
Heat.
No, incorrect. Rachel, how sweet she rings the bell.
Right,
It's
just
so
so
sweet.
politely.
It's like, I don't want to bother, but I know the
Robert De
answer.
Niro as Noodles. Is it Goodfellas? No.
Is it good?
Once.
No, that's not
Can I go again? No.
One.
Hold on.
Go again.
Once Upon a Time in America.
That's correct. 2 points to Patricia. All right. So Robert De Niro as Jimmy Conway. Mark.
Jimmy Conway was in the the Departed.
That's absolutely not. I mean, this is so wrong.
He wasn't
at
even in the
every
movie,
single
no?
point. All right. Any of you? No.
Good.
Goodfellas.
Yes.
Goodfellas. That goes to Rachel. 2 points to Rachel.
Okay, and
actually.
enough with Robert De Niro. We move on to
There's never enough of Robert De Niro.
Daniel
Come on.
Day-Lewis as Bill Cutting or Bill the Butcher.
Patricia.
Yes.
Mark.
Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York, that's right. 2 points to Mark. And Andy Garcia's Vincent Santino Corleone. Patricia.
The Godfather 3.
The Godfather Part 3, that's correct.
Okay.
I blanked out for a second there.
You did
A
it well.
woman. Sandra Oh as Eve Polastri.
Patricia.
Killing Eve.
Yes.
That's my show.
You don't need to be so sweet. You can just
Yeah,
hit
just
the bell.
Hit it
All
harder.
right,
Okay.
exactly. Sharon Stone as Ginger McKenna.
Ginger McKenna.
Mark.
Basic Instinct. I don't know.
No. Patricia.
Casino.
That's correct. Casino. Of course. So let's check the score. Patricia, of course, is in the lead with 15 points, and then Rachel is with 5 points, kind of right after, and Mark is 9 points in the second position.
Told you, I start off very well. I'm like the rabbit and the turtle in the race. You're the
We
turtle.
will see about that. We will see about that.
But
You're
there
the
is
turtle
another
wins.
round still.
That's correct. So keep the bell, the honk, and the hammer. Use them to answer the next 2 questions for 3 points. Let's see if you know these curious facts about mobsters. Don't get excited, because this time you have to wait for the end of the question.
Okay.
Now Rachel's attitude is going to be the
Right, I'm
winning
polite,
attitude.
you know?
Politeness.
Let you
Okay,
finish.
listen carefully. What famous singer performed for 8 days at the Villa Venice Club in Chicago to get the pardon of a mob boss?
Patricia.
Frank Sinatra.
Yes.
That's correct. 3
Great,
points to
amazing.
Patricia. Amazing.
Yeah,
Reportedly, Frank
Excellent.
Sinatra got Chicago's mobster Sam Giancana to help JFK to get to power. When it turned out that JFK's administration cracked down on the mafia, Sinatra offered to sing in Giancana's club to make it up to him. Such a nice guys.
Yeah.
All right, the second one.
Goodfellas.
Yes,
Sorry.
exactly.
You see, she's a bit of a mobster
She's a
herself
bit of a
with a name like
Right.
Escalone. Come on, it's
Yeah.
got that Italian. It's got that Italian, like kind of feel about it.
All right, let's go on.
The second one goes like that. In the 1980s, Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel was making so much money that they spent $2,500 a month on what little things for holding their cash?
Wallet?
Rachel, huh?
Wallet?
That's not
No?
correct.
Okay.
Kind of, but not correct. Mark?
bags. He used to have satchels.
That's
like bags.
not correct. Clue?
To hold, to
money clips.
bring it together.
Hold on.
Made of rubber.
Patricia, there is a honk.
Ah.
There is a horn to be honk.
I just ran.
Patricia.
So,
money clips. That's what I was going to
Rachel.
say.
Rubber band.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Well done. Amazing.
Give it up.
Amazing.
Yay.
Yeah, excellent.
They spend $2,500 a month on rubber band just to hold all their cash.
Wow,
All right.
imagine
A lot
that.
of rubber bands.
And excellent powers of deduction.
Absolutely.
Okay, well done, Rachel. And the score is 18 points for Patricia, Mark 9 points, and Rachel 8.
So it's getting tight. The race is getting tight. Let's see it.
Not really. Not really. I mean, she's way out ahead. It's tight between me and
there is
Rachel.
a race for the second position. Let's say
always,
that.
as always.
All right. We have come to the last question, which is worth 5 points. That is, if you get it correctly, of course. If you get it wrong, 5 points will be taken away from you. So, other than that, same rules. You guys ready?
Yes.
So, from the 40s to the 70s in New York and other cities, some machines then considered gambling machines were banned because they were said to rob the school children's money. So the question is, what's the name of these machines?
Mara.
Gobstopper machines.
That's not correct. But I love your excitement.
It's close though.
It was close. Kind of.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Did you?
Vending machines?
That's
Vending
not correct. And
Very
gently.
gently.
Pinball machine.
That's correct.
Great.
Pinball machines.
Excellent.
Excellent. Pinball machines were forbidden in the US for 3 decades, and actually, Portland mobster James Elkins made part of his fortune supplying and controlling them. So 5 points to Rachel. Yay!
Great, well done. But wait a minute, Sergi, because I think we have a draw here.
There you go, unexpected, right?
13 points. Patricia and Rachel both have 13 points.
You can shake your hands. Exactly. You are the 2 winners.
And Mark,
a
4
very,
points.
I'm actually
very
delighted
terrible.
today. I'm delighted that she's not the clear-out winner. I'm really happy for Rachel. I'm really happy. I think there should be a bonus extra round for her just to try and win. But anyways.
Well, anyway,
We'll take it with the next one.
congratulations. Today we don't have 1 winner, we have 2 winners, Patricia and Rachel. Thank you for coming, Rachel. Thank you, Patricia, as well. And thank you, Mark. Until next time.
Until I lose again.
And Sergi?
Yeah.
See you next time.
Okay, okay. That
With
was
another
threatening.
best?
And with a different best, absolutely.
With a new
Another
best,
one to
exactly.
impress you even more.
You've got a whole collection.
I got a whole collection, and I can stop buying and buying them, trying
What
to find
color
the
is
one.
the next one?
We will see. What color is your favorite color for a vest?
I don't know. I'll think about it and tell you later.
Okay.
It will be a surprise for all our viewers.
Here we go for the next week. The big mystery of Sergi's vest to impress Nutella.
Okay, and the weekly mag ends here today. We've had some fun and practiced English with many different sections. We'll be right back next week. Until then, follow us on the social networks and post the solution to this week's Guess Word Puzzle by Marius Serra. Stay tuned, keep up your English, and have a fantastic week.